We have now owned our 2024 Toyota Tacoma Blueberry for 2 months, and in that time we've put over 6,000 miles on this truck. So in this video we want to do a little recap, talk about our ownership experience with it so far. We want to talk about some of the things that have happened, and we want to talk about our future plans with this truck. Now first things first, Roman and Andre went to pick this truck up and they road tripped it back here to Colorado where we're based. And almost immediately we took it towing and we took it off-road because we want to see how this 2024 Tacoma performs, considering that this has been the best-selling mid-size truck for quite a while, and it's been about 8 years since the Tacoma was updated. And of course, this is a big update for this new generation of Tacoma, so we had to see how it would do. And of course, probably the most infamous thing that has happened to this truck since we bought it was the front differential letting loose. So the guys had this truck off-road in the snow, and there was a break in the driveline. So at that point, it would only send power to the rear diff. Now we brought it to our local Toyota dealership. They fixed it, and very soon we should have an official update from Toyota on what exactly happened and what the fix for that is. So until we get that, we really don't have a ton more information, but our truck is now fully functional. It's repaired, and we've taken it off-road a couple times since. And as far as off-roading goes, we've tested this truck against every single mid-size truck on the market. Now, a few things that this has going for it: it is a TRD Off-Road, so we have a rear locker, and we've got slightly more aggressive tires. These are BF Goodrich tires. They're not super aggressive because of course you have to maintain some level of fuel economy with the way that these trucks come from the factory, and for the most part, this truck has been left alone. But again, we've tested this four-wheel drive system against every other truck on the mid-size market, and it performed exceedingly well. The rear locker goes a long way, and the four-wheel drive programming on it really works well to get this truck unstuck from a lot of different situations. And then if you want to go beyond this, the guys have also tested out the new Trail Hunter and the TRD Pro models of the Tacoma, which obviously have a different powertrain than this. Those are hybrid models. But if you want to see those videos, you can check those out at alltfl.com. This particular truck is a fairly base level TRD off-road. So we got this truck for about $45,000, and off-road has been one of its best areas when compared to other trucks. We did have the four-wheel drive issue, but since then it's performed really well. And not only did we test the four-wheel drive system on this truck against every other mid-size truck on the market, we also did an Ike gauntlet with this truck against every other truck on the market. We took it drag racing against every other mid-size truck on the market. We did MPG, we compared the technology. So we've really put this through its paces with all the other mid-size trucks, and there are a lot of them, some of them just as newer than this because the Ford Ranger's just come out. So there's really a lot going on in this segment. And of course, this is one of the biggest names in that area. Now, in all those tests so far, it's performed really well, and that's thanks in part to this powertrain, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second when we go take this for a drive. But really one of the big updates that has been a little controversial for some Toyota faithful buyers out there is the move to a turbo four-cylinder. So this is a 2.4 liter turbo four-cylinder that's under the hood of this truck. It makes 278 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. And because it's a turbo powertrain instead of a V6, it feels a lot torqueier, and it's also paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is all good stuff. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into it and when we drive it. And then the other big thing that we've done with this truck, aside from testing it against all these other mid-size trucks, is that after we did all that testing, we put this Go Fast camper on the back of it. This is a unit that Go Fast sent to us. These are built in the US, and especially for a truck here in Colorado, it is a pretty cool configuration to have. So the way this works is it's basically a topper down here. So you still have the use of your bed. It's pretty much open. So just like with any other topper, you could put whatever you want here inside the bed. And then up top, you've got a whole tent that flips up so that you can stay the night up there. And the whole build quality of this, all the aluminum, these latches, everything. It's really impressive equipment to look at. The other crazy thing about it is it really doesn't weigh very much at all. And you notice how little you notice it when you're actually driving. But let's move to the interior, because that's another big part of what's changed on these trucks for this new generation. Now, our particular Tacoma is not an example of the best version of the interior that you can get in these, because this is a pretty base level TRD Off-Road. So we've got these cloth seats. They don't feel especially high end, and it's a fairly plasticky interior. But that being said, it is a good design. It looks very modern. It's very blocky. It looks masculine. We've got a lot of pockets in the doors and pockets in the dash, and we've got nice big chunky buttons and dials here, which is all pretty classic Toyota. And then firing it up, we've got a relatively small but still high resolution screen here in the center once it actually fires up. And that's nice to have. Again, it's a smaller screen, and you know, I mean, if you really want a big screen, then this particular trim is not the way to go. But we do still have a pretty nice instrument cluster here that's all digital, all screen, looks pretty sharp. But what we really want to do is take this down the road. Another thing that is worth mentioning that has been a little bit of a low point for some of the guys as far as this truck is concerned has been the rear seat space, because especially for some of the other guys in the office who are well over 6 feet tall, it's cramped back there. So if you have to ride in the back of the Tacoma, you're probably not going to be that comfortable. Not to say that that's any different with other mid-sized trucks on the market, but it is a point that's worth thinking about. If you want to use this potentially as a family vehicle, if you've got smaller kids, that might work fine, but it's a little tight back there. Now we're going to pull out onto the road, and I'm going to get on the throttle a little bit, because we talked about this powertrain. And of course, if you want even more power than this particular powertrain, you can get one of the hybrid models that will get you more horsepower and a lot more torque. But even this base powertrain feels really good going down the road, because one of the huge advantages here is that you get your torque delivered at lower RPM. So I get that people are going to miss the V6, but I had an opportunity to tow with this back to back with a Frontier, and it was the exact same trailer. And the Frontier, that V6 was screaming because it makes its power at high RPM like the old Tacoma did. This turbo powertrain makes a lot of torque at much lower RPM, so it feels much less stressed, especially up here in the mountains where we have a lot of steep grades and we're at elevation. So it's hard for a lot of powertrains even just to move the vehicle itself up a hill. This one doesn't struggle with that as much. Also, really good ride quality in here. It's sprung nice and soft, which is kind of what we expect from a lot of these body-on-frame four-wheel drive Toyotas. They tend to be pretty plush, which is nice when you're driving off-road. And as far as having this go-fast camper on the back, you really don't notice it because it's already a fairly high-profile vehicle, so it's not like you're taking something sleek and aerodynamic and way raising how tall it is. And again, that go-fast camper, it really doesn't weigh much, so you could pretty much forget that it's back there. Now, I said that I was going to talk about some of our plans with this truck, and really, at this point, our next step with it is to sell it. So if you're interested in this truck, either with or without the camper that's on the back, send us an email at ask@tfltruck.com, because this is something that we're looking to move down the line, because we've got other trucks that have come in, like the Cybertruck, that we need to focus on and make videos with. And then the other thing is that we've really done pretty much everything that we want to do with this truck. Again, we've towed with it, we've taken it off-road multiple times in different places. We've tested the four-wheel drive system and the fuel economy and the technology, so there's just not a lot left for us to do with this truck at this point, other than to move it along and to keep bringing on new trucks to do even more testing with. So it will be sad to let go of this truck because it's a very versatile vehicle. It's something that we've been able to use to haul things around, to pull trailers. We've been able to use it to go off-roading, so it's a useful vehicle to have around. But again, we can't make much of a business model making videos about the same truck year after year. We've got to keep our cycle fresh, new things coming into the garage. So that's going to be the plan with this truck. And again, if you're interested in it, shoot us an email and we'll step outside here to close up the video. So really, that's pretty much all. It's been a good ownership experience overall. Of course, we had that slight hiccup with the four-wheel drive system, and that hasn't happened since. We do still want to take it back to that same trail, back to that same rock feature, and see if this truck can redeem itself on that same trail. But aside from that, it's been a good vehicle. So let me know in the comments below what you think. And that's all for this video. We'll see you in the next.